believe in magic. The whole point of Ted Danson's Loch Ness movie is that cynics are nasties, believers are goodies. So which are you? Everyone who's been to Loch Ness will be aware of the mysterious atmosphere of the Loch, and there's no doubt that many locals firmly believe in Nessie, as a Channel 4 documentary this weekend proved.
While we were at Loch Ness, we filmed these 5 creatures. Are they Nessies or ducks? Dinsdale says he filmed the monster. Skeptics say it's a boat. Was Rayner's film the monster, or was it wildlife? Was the tourist video only wakes or seals? What does an eyewitness see?
Well, let's find out. Joining us now is Dr Karl Shuker, who's made a study of numerous strange beasts around the world, including Nessie, and Britain's only full-time monster hunter, Steve Feltham. Actually, Steve, you live now full-time by the Loch.
For the last 5 years.
For the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Live in a converted library van.
That's right, yeah. Going up and down around the Loch, hunting, waiting and watching.
You used to fit burglar alarms, didn't you? And just
before that, yeah.
blaze the whole thing up. Before we talk, let's just have a look at you, because you're in the documentary, and kind of the way you live now.
My work here will go on for a lifetime, you know, decades yet of hunting to be done around the Loch. I'm not sure I want to find it. I'm not sure I want to prove once and for all what's in the Loch. I think whoever that person is will go down in history as being the man that destroyed this beautiful mystery.
It's jolly cold there at this time of year, I can tell you.
It is pretty cold, yeah.
I mean, we've persuaded you to fly here and to abandon your contemplations of the Loch for a day. What was the thing that made you decide that it existed?
The eyewitnesses, the local eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time going there, staying in a tent, hunting, just for my own curiosity.
Yeah.
50-50 as to whether there was, well, different to that, as to whether there was something in there.
Yeah.
But now, over the years, the number of eyewitnesses that I've now spoken to, they're seeing something.
They do, and I know we've been to Loch Ness, and we're talking to locals around there. They do believe, don't they? They do believe there's something strange about the place.
It's very hard now for those same locals to talk to make their sightings public. Most sightings that I get to hear of, you can't get the people to tell the outside world what they're seeing there anymore.
Because they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because they know how the subject will get treated by the media. That's the problem.
Dr Shuker, why do you, as somebody who studies these things deeply and is quite prepared to not believe in certain monsters, why do you think that Nessie exists? What's the criteria?
I think there's some good evidence. There's a lot of hoax elements which have been brought into play, and that, unfortunately, has completely taken the edge off the subject. But there is some very good scientific evidence. I mean, briefly, one of the best pieces of evidence I think ever came was in 1972, when a team of American researchers had an underwater camera and sonar equipment trained on one specific area of the Loch. And early that morning, the sonar equipment detected a shoal of fish swimming by, and then a very large, solid body, about 30 feet long. And as I was swimming by, the camera took photos of it.
There it is, yeah.
And that's right. And that was the result. As you can see, a large fin, which apparently is 6 feet long.
Now, Keith, have you got that? Could you just chuck it, this, because Dr Shuker brought this in. I mean, do you really think that it looks like this?
It's not a bad fit. What you do have to believe is, and take note of all these things, that officially died out 65 million years ago. If there are any that have survived somehow to the present day, they're not going to look exactly like that. There's 65 million years of evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, we look like rats 65 million years ago. You have to take this into account.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad fit. It's better than anything that is alive today.
Just take that picture up again, the one of the flipper. The key thing here is, and because I've read the books on this, and this is the one thing which startles me, I have to say. Cynics would say, well, that could be anything. It could be a dead leaf. The point is that matches exactly the underwater sonar tracking, which showed a very large object.
You've got two corroborating pieces of evidence, and the thing, they're not eyewitnesses. The machines who basically couldn't care less whether it's the Loch Ness Monster. All they do is detect what comes
Well, why don't we see it? I mean, you've been there for 5 years. You've never seen a thing.
Seen a couple of disturbances where you can't see what there is, something at a great distance, cutting through the water.
Have you?
Yeah. But that's enough to keep me encouraged.
But why haven't you seen it? Why, you know, people who spend years and years and years looking don't see a damn thing. Why not, you think?
Every day when I'm watching the Loch, although the Loch is 23 miles long, wherever I am, I'm only really watching the first mile around me.
Yeah.
The lenses that I've got, you're not going to get
It's absolutely huge. It looks, you've seen it. It looks like an inland sea.
It is massive, and there is a very strange atmosphere there. You say that actually there are enough caves. If Loch Ness was drained, there'd be enough area to put the world's population
Exactly,
3 times over.
the human population. So a few 30-feet monsters.
Caves are a bit debatable.
Yeah, the caves,
There's
but the
no-
actual volume.
Correct,
if you
the
take
volume of the
water out-
place.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
you know,
look, we haven't had chance so far to talk about other beasties, like the beast of Bodmin and the beast of Exmoor. What's this? Very quickly,
well,
Carl.
that is supposed to be the footprint of the beast of Exmoor. It's a very large cat-like footprint, about 3 times the size of a normal domestic cat, found on Exmoor 1987.
All right, okay. Well, look, stay with us, because that's our phone-in today. It's all on close encounters of a beastly kind. No UFOs today, please. We're asking if you've seen something strange and monstrous, whether it's Nessie, Yeti, or the beast of Bodmin, or Exmoor, whatever. Do give us a call with your stories on 0345 55 1000.
Okay, that's coming up after the break. Welcome back. Okay, it's the phone in on Nessie and other monsters. We've got some fabulous calls. I knew we'd get them. We've got Karl Shuker here, who's spent many years as a scientist studying these phenomena, and Steve Feltham, who's devoted, well, the last 5 years of his life to living in a kind of a mobile library on the shores of Loch Ness. And you've seen a few strange things, but nothing convincing and totally
Not personally,
certain.
but in the time I've been there, there's been several very reliable sightings by local people.
What came across from some research I was reading about it some time ago was that the ordinary people who think they've seen something, seem to have seen something, are terrified. It's not something that they jump up and down about and go, whoopee, I've seen a Loch Ness Monster. They're actually pretty shaken up by it.
Also, people just freeze when they see these things.
Yeah.
Everyone says, why don't you take a photograph of it? But when you're looking at it, the last thing you want to do is go away from it to get a camera.
That's it.
And that's part of the
You
problem.
want to get as much detail as possible while it's there. It's not going to
So
be
they
very
just
long.
watch it
Yeah.
and just mesmerised by it.
Carl, what you call your field of study, which isn't just the Loch Ness Monster, but it's sightings of the beast of Bodmin and things like that as well, it's called cryptozoology.
Basically, crypto-hidden zoology animals, the study of hidden animals.
Hidden animals.
So creatures that we do believe exist, there's good evidence, but we haven't basically got a body. We haven't got the conclusive evidence
Right.
that can add them to the zoological catalogue.
You haven't got the corpse.
That's
well,
right.
you don't
Literally,
want the
literally.
corpse, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we've had loads of calls, as Richard said. Shall we crack on with them? John's calling first from Aberdeenshire. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Good morning. You say you were at Loch Ness in 1989.
That's correct,
Yes, tell us what happened.
I was actually taking a niece of mine who was on holiday from Canada on a tour of Scotland, and we drove down to Loch Ness on the early morning of 13th of March 1989, and I was standing on the shores of Loch Ness, just in the car park above Urquhart Castle, which there's a good view of the loch from there.
Yep.
And being a sailor, I was pointing out to Debbie that, you know, perhaps people, because I was very sceptical, obviously, of the monster, although some of my relatives have actually seen it themselves.
Yeah.
And I was pointing out the sort of wave formations and so forth on the water. And lo and behold, just as I was pointing out something, it was as if a submarine was coming to the surface. This huge wake started to, you know, but just offshore from the castle. And it looked everything like the front of a submarine coming to the surface. It came to the surface, creating a huge wake in the water. And to the right of it, another object appeared, and the two of them were obviously swimming together. They swam along the shoreline in front of Urquhart Castle, you know, in parallel with the shore, and about 400 or 500 yards to the right, there was a little motor launch coming up the loch, and the two objects were obviously running away from the noise of the motor yacht.
And was this one single hump? Is
What,
John
yes.
talking about a single hump rather than...
It was one large hump, yes, initially. The two objects had a large hump each.
Right.
Oh,
And then they swam parallel to the shoreline and then turned to the right at 90 degrees and swam away from the shoreline. And the two objects then, what to me looked like a horse's head, reared out of the water in front of the two large humps. And the head was turning to the right and left as if it was looking to see where the noise...
John, did you
know,
not have a camera with you?
I'm actually shaking just now thinking about it. I was so frightened, and the hair just curled up the back of my neck, and I ran to the car to get my camera.
Yeah.
And in such a panic, I'd recently bought a new long lens.
Yeah.
And in my panic and haste to put the long lens on, and of course I clicked off as many shots as I could, but unfortunately nothing came out. And I was so frightened, you know.
Yeah?
All right, John,
I think that's again, what I was saying earlier, that sensation of fear, because he wasn't under any threat.
And he's a sailor as well, so he's got massive experience of water and observing things on water.
Presumably,
quite
because whatever it
reliable.
was he was looking at was so confounding
Yeah, exactly.
to his
Nothing that had
experience of
any...
life
Exactly.
that you can feel nothing but fear.
Interesting, the horse's head is interesting.
Yeah.
That comes up time and time again, and not just from Britain. The lake monsters reported from elsewhere in the world, and that is the same characteristic, a horse's head. So,
But that's kind of like the the drawings of dragons.
Exactly. In fact, some of the prows on the Viking ships are very, very horse-like serpentine, and the idea is, could they be based on sea serpents? Were they not imaginary? Were they actually based